Rob, welcome to Above the Tree Line. If you could just take a couple minutes and introduce yourself and your background and how you got into becoming a CCM analyst.
Thank you so much, Analyst, for giving this platform. And it's pleasure to me sharing my insights about the market. And it's been around 4 years, like I'm tracking the CCM market. Definitely QKS Group Coordinator Solution gave me the opportunity to track this market. And as a CCM analyst, I love talking to end users first. Of course, my job is to evaluate, talk with companies who are operating in CCM, just analyzing their platform and how they're operating in, what's their roadmap, and how they see the market and all. But again, I just really love to talk to end users, the real users who are using the platform, how they're looking into it, right? So that's about me. And I would love, let's see how this podcast goes. And I would definitely gonna see some insights
Yeah.
from you as well, and even from what I learned in 4 years. So let's start it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where we wanted to start, and the reason we wanted to get together was to talk about the new CCM global dashboard that QKS has put out. That it is, we'll provide a link to this in the podcast, but it is packed full of
Yeah.
information about the global CCM market. And I guess I'll start before I have you walk us through it because there's so much stuff here. It's really quite amazing. And I'm so
Agree.
grateful you're willing to share this with the market. But I think
Yeah.
my question for you is, we even talked about earlier how there's so few people actually covering the space anymore. How
Hmm.
what I'll call sort of the legacy CCM market composition, right?
Yeah.
Formatting a page, formatting a form. There's still, I think, a lot of people that think of it that way. But when you look at the US market, there's no more events even dedicated to CCM, right? Your dashboard is showing a lot of
Yeah.
activity and a lot of growth around the world. And so I'd
Yeah.
love it if you just kind of take us through the key highlights, around the landscape, the strategy. Again, there's just so much great stuff here. And I'd love for you just to share a little bit your perspective on what you're learning and how you see the market.
Yeah. So before I just tell you about the dashboard, what I feel like adding to your point, like 4 decades, we have seen that CCM was built around transactional output, right? Think about in bank statements, insurance policies, billing
Yep.
notices, right? So it's mostly was document-centric solutions, and that's why I feel that now analysts are not negating these things. They are feeling that it's kind of a mature market. Like, come on, like what else we can add, right? But I
Mhm.
feel after COVID and after Gen AI introduction, everything has changed drastically, right? It just changed
Mhm.
drastically. Before that, it's all about you just give a content to us, we will create a message. There's a developer there who'll sit and just as per your brand guidelines, he will create the template, and these template will be shared to all the end users. But now this Gen AI thing is changing everything. Like every company's base has changed. I have seen a lot of vendors, a lot of companies are talking about Gen AI right now. They
Yep.
are engulfing content intelligence, they are talking about translations, summarizations, everything is on point, right?
Yep.
And even when we talk about the healthcare industry, those industries I think rule the CCM market. Some stats say like 66% of healthcare customers are now likely to switch to providers if communication is not correct. And you mean what kind of communication? More personalized, right? The communication
Right.
makes sense. So we are not just talking about, hey, your health insurance got expired, renew, right? Someone
Mhm.
wants to have that personalized effect, like, hey, your health insurance expired, and I feel that you can add up to this limits to your insurance policies, and this will create more budget to you. So this kind of messaging is creating that aura, it's creating that epicenter piece that is missing. I feel that missing piece of the puzzle, right? The
Mhm.
more personalized.
Yep.
And even when we say journey orchestration, it's again new competitive battleground. Now every vendor is fighting for it. Initially, a prominent CCM player just started their journey orchestration by conquering a good enterprise archiving solutions. So the shift is being powered by what customer journey orchestration platforms. So the market is very explosive right now.
Mhm.
What I see is like even you can see in my dashboard, right? Currently, the market is on $1 billion, but we are seeing that
Right.
it can grow to 3 billion. But it's just a forecast, and I believe it can go 4 5 billion more than that. Because now you also, I think we have seen a lot of posts when I post that about CXM market, customer
Mhm.
experience management. So I believe that maturity is evolving towards CXM, right?
Right.
So
Right.
customer experience is a big thing right now. Initially,
Right.
what we thought, if you want to be a CXM vendor, you have to have that feedback mechanism, like companies like
Right.
who
It's
add.
a two-way conversation. It's interactive, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So now it's
Yep.
more two interactions and all. So these kind of things creating more essence. And let's look how it plays out insurance, right? So insurance industry is also changing a lot. What is a
Mhm.
traditional approach? A policy renewal notice, mail 30 days before expiration, as I explained before, right? Now, when we use the journey orchestration approach, a triggered message after a quote followed by interactive email with embedded video explaining coverage options are there. Now, companies are adding that video personalized messaging.
Mhm.
We are talking about personalized content, but now they are one step ahead. They are talking about personalized videos, right?
Mhm.
No- Now, these creates a trigger. Even you can connect with an agent right away. So
Mhm.
interactive documents are there in the pod, right? So I feel that Gen AI is the excellent transforming this entire landscape. And according to our research, yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I wanted to just kind of touch on an aspect of this that I think, again, the US is the big market. It's the biggest market for sure. Not necessarily the most mature, the one that is really pursuing digital in the same ways as some of these other markets that you're indicating. I think it was particularly Latin America is really focused on self-service digital transformation. But when we think about sort of the traditional, again, sort of that legacy CCM market that we know people are familiar with, putting stuff on paper, putting it in the mail, sort of that traditional business. What you described, though, is so far beyond that. When you start including interactive communications and experiences, you start to bleed into other markets. Traditional CCMs used to sit in the basement of the enterprise. We're now elevated to the top floor. How is that changing the view of the market? Because it seems like we're leaking into more marketing kind of technology, right? We're finding CCM is its role in the enterprise is changing. It's
yeah,
different than it used to be. Just send out the bills and the statements. We need to get paid. Now it's transforming into something very different. You mentioned CXM, and CXM to me is that term, that bridge that takes us from where we used to be. This is why I think it's really interesting how you describe it, because it is really exciting and it is changing. But it seems like the parts of the traditional CCM industry that a lot of us grew up with, that are familiar with, are disappearing into other areas, becoming the story for the MarTech people, right? For the customer experience people.
yeah.
So it's really interesting to see how that's playing out. So when you talk about the growth, and I think the growth was pretty significant. I mean, we're looking at a CAGR of almost 13% through, I guess, through the end of the decade, 2027. That growth is not necessarily, is it coming from the traditional CCM vendors, or is it coming from the CRMs and the sales forces and all these other sort of functional parts of the enterprise that are starting to take on some of the roles and responsibilities that used to be part of the dedicated CCM group in the basement? Okay.
Yeah. So the CAGR is for all the vendors, to be honest. I think
Okay.
the current player who have the traditional CCM platforms are very less right now, because what I feel right now is that every, for example, CRM vendor, he has that database, right? He has all the customers inquiry and all. What he need
Right.
to do? He need to just have a template generation. That's it. He can create a template. He can embed that AI into it. He can have some partnership with CPaaS vendors for their omnichannel delivery. That's it. A platform is made, right? So the fight here is for a data. See, before that, as you mentioned, that in traditional CCM, it's mostly limited to documents, limited to some content. But
Mhm.
now it's getting towards more marketing automation tool to wear on it. I feel that it's getting toward more marketing. The
Mhm.
company's ABM strategies has changed drastically afterwards, right? So the fight is for the data. Who is having the most amount of data? Who is having that, for example, how much insurance you have, policies you have shared to with, and with different demographics in per different countries. So the fight is for data, to be honest. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying, like, if you see the CDP vendors, right? If we say that the role of CDP vendors 3, 4 years altogether, but now they are in the major upstream. All CCM vendors are trying to work with CDP vendors. They want to have that partnership. They have to build that ecosystem for the data. Like even in Indian companies, they are also pushing forward. Like, see, it's everybody is following the trend. When GenAI came, companies like MessagePoint already had that vision. They have that Marcy AI, they have that content intelligence inbuilt in it, right? So it came as a boom.
Right.
Every vendor is following that trend. Even in Indian market, the CCM world, I don't think so. CCM is morely matured.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they are very small players, but some of the vendors who are operating in that region are now also compelling to be in that trend.
Mm-hmm.
If I change that in the 4 years what I notice is someone who's talking about the quality of content, who's talking about data, see the customer data is being used in the content, right? So 4 years back, they're mostly talking about the governance, HIPAA compliance, the personal compliance and all. It's mostly towards the content and governance. Right now, they're talking about personalization. So everything has changed right now. They're talking about, okay, my platform is just in 5 seconds, it can create an content that can deliver to all the people. That's change the name and everything will be personalized.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's what is thing is going right now. And the CAGR is, of course, every CRM vendor who is operating, for example, Salesforce is also operating in that marketing automation tool. But we are not saying it they're CCM vendors. But again,
Yep.
everybody's doing the same thing, but the name is different.
Right. Well, and I think that the reason how I've sort of distinguished between, again, sort of that traditional CCM view and more the MarTech view is compliance, regulation, security. Those things are sort of non-optional, right? In the CCM space. In the marketing space, it's like, hey, did we get a new customer? Great. Not that there aren't rules and regulations in the marketing space as well, but they're different and much less onerous, right? People don't go to jail if the wrong person gets the wrong message, right? So I think but that's changing, right? And AI is obviously part of that. That's going to start giving some of those MarTech vendors the ability to say, hey, what are these rules and regulations? How do we manage them, right? So I think this is where we're seeing sort of this parts of the market are just kind of drifting off into new places. And it's interesting and exciting, but it's
Totally
also
agree.
leaving a lot of people sort of behind if they are not paying attention. And that's part of what I do here at Treeline, is to point out the fact that things are changing, changing quickly.
Yeah. And just adding to that compliance point, one segment I have noticed that initially I just talked to one of the vendors here in Malaysia. They're a bank company, and what happened is that they are partnering with a CCM and CRM vendor for their messaging and all. So the first question they asked that with the vendor is my data safe? I'm I'm working with you, and is my data safe or not? Just say yes or no.
Yeah.
I don't want AI in my platform. I don't want personalized thing. I will give you content, share it, but it's my data safe. The vendor is getting hiccups.
Yep.
He
Yep.
because see, even if you're using GenAI capabilities, you have to partner either with OpenAI, Gemini, and all. We have to partner with these companies, right? Either you can make your own platform, like your
Right.
own GenAI platform, but it's not
Right.
possible. You have to invest a lot of R&D in it, the resources in it,
Mm.
budget, money, everything is in it, right? So
Yeah.
small players normally what they do, they partnership. So every data is going to OpenAI. So nobody is willing to invest in AI right now. So even if you see the pages of the companies, yeah, everywhere
Yeah.
you will
Well,
see that AI thing. Exactly.
I know it's interesting. And I had you probably saw the conversation I had with Scott Dreger from Smartcoms,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he was indicating how the RFP process is changing, right? It's the questions now are less about feature and function. It's like, what are you doing with AI? How is AI going to touch my data? And so that just the way companies now are
exactly.
looking at buying CCM
Yeah.
platforms is changing because of AI. It's definitely a race for a lot of these vendors to sort of answer some of these questions. And, obviously they're very smart people at all these companies working on that. And it's exciting.
Mhm.
So, I was just going to look through here and, again, just going back to the dashboard, there was a couple of areas here. When we looked at the first one, which was market landscape, and it's around capability and capability maturity compared to AI integration. And capability maturity, right? We can agree that here's analytics is around 80%, but for the most part, this stuff is figured out, right? But on the AI side of the question, it is sort of all over. And, personalization, I think, came out on top. Analytics and insights are up there. Compliance is a big one. Template management, right? So many of these
Yeah.
CCM platforms are still based on templates. To me, that seems like an area where there's a potential threat, right? There's something going on there that templates, you start wondering, what is the role of the template going to be in the future in the CCM platform, right? You're going to need it. Or is it really
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
prompt, right?
Exactly, exactly. It is important right now. Some vendors are selling the CSM play as AI-based template management. It is their like what is it, marketing line. You can manage the the Canva, right? So it's just similar to Canva. You have that options. You just use a prompt. Like I want to write a insurance policy like renewal to 80-year guy who is living in Arizona, right? It will create the prompt for you. You can ask for designs, color scheme. An old guy will like white color, blue color. You will
Mhm.
just use the what kind of words can I use? He's a veteran, he's that and all. So these informations you collecting, right? And you just using in the prompts. And again, beautiful message created,
Yeah.
right?
Do you see that extending to the end user around personalization? In other words, as long as the right information is on the page, I want to define what I want that page to look like because I have a reading disability or whatever that is. The layout of the page, as long as it's there, the
Yeah.
needed information is there. Will personalization evolve to the point where I can actually define what I want my statements to look like?
Mhm. Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
I think that's where we're headed, right? So the next one here is strategic roadmap is the next tab on the dashboard. It's sort of an indicator of where are investments being made, where is development
Yeah.
focus occurring, and of course AI is way out on top. User experience was a little bit on the lower end of the scale.
Mhm.
Compliance is sort of in the middle, but again, it's really interesting to see how the market is really just shifting, right?
Agree.
And again, you wonder if all these other considerations, I mean, I guess cloud hosting and SaaS is sort of an infrastructure play that AI isn't necessarily going to replace, but all this other stuff AI can sort of figure out, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be
And even you can notice that initially it was mostly on-prem, like nobody wants to give that to have a on-cloud thing, right? But
right.
now it's also getting a trend. Now it's like, okay, we are on cloud. Okay, it's fine. Just take the data and process fast. So
Yep.
now this is also getting a good trend. Initially,
Yep.
I noticed that 4 years back, the percentage of cloud was less compared to on-prem, but now it's
Hmm.
getting on heavy side,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And again, because the reason I feel is that the data is increasing right now.
Yep.
Is initially what I thought is like there's a form, your name, your age, your address, but now the forms questions are getting increased. What you
Hmm.
like, what's your favorite color, what you do in holidays. Uh, So
Yep.
you need an area that has the data, right? So cloud is getting also good trend. Just to adding to
Well,
that investment thing.
and you talk about customer data, and I think one of the questions I want to ask you a little bit earlier was in this transformation and growth of the sort of traditional CCM into CXM and I think moving into the more the MarTech space, who owns the customer? What is the system of record? I mean, that clearly has to be changing too, right? I mean, it used to be the core systems, right? They owned, hey, Saurabh owes us this much money and here's where he lives. But now some of that stuff is actually becoming part of the domain of the customer communications platforms. They're starting to sort of own all of that stuff about the customer. So
Yeah.
how is that sort of shifting what is going to be the system of truth in an organization?
So what I notice is right. See, after like AI revolution came in 2022. Before that, we are very not so compliant to share our information in the online. Because see, if you just, I'll give you a small example. Like right now, we have around 1,500 plus AI websites who are asking us to log in.
Hmm.
Just imagine like 4 5 years, I would be afraid to log in on random website. I don't want to share my email. I don't want to give access to my email, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now we're giving access to everything. Like I want to make a PPT in AI, let's give me access. So I'm checking in from my Google, right?
Yeah.
The companies, the even in the customers are, I feel they are feel safe right now. There's like, okay, my data is not being utilized, it's just my personal information, right? So that thing is depleting right now.
Hmm.
So experience is more matter towards either it's a company who is providing the solution, or either is the end user of that company who is having the solution, even the end user of that particular solution company who is
Hmm.
giving the information, who's getting the messaging. Because see, if I'm getting a good glittered page where there's a perfect name for myself, the picture of my family is there, so I would have loved it, right? But I won't gonna think in the back like, hey, someone else can use my picture, right? The deep fake thing is also coming in trend.
Yeah.
They have seen a lot of things are going on their feed. So we are not just checking it. We are just, okay, it's fine that my data is being used and all. So I think the professionality has changed drastically in for 5 years.
Authenticity is a significant challenge that I would like to see the market deal with. I think right now we're just sort of trust, hey, it's from my bank, it's authentic. But I think we are getting to a point to, I think we're headed is, what are the tools that I'm going to use as a consumer to know that something that was sent to me is real? Email, text, even in the physical mail. Is this actually true? Is this really from the company I think it's from? And I think that's where we're headed. Unfortunately, there's bad guys out there that are going to take advantage of gaps in the market. And that's really unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in. Talk a little bit about healthcare. The only reason I say that is, and I'll just be upfront about what I do here at Treeline, is I don't do a lot in healthcare. And the reason I don't do a lot of healthcare is because it's really complex. And
Agreed.
it is its own market. It is its own thing, separate from banking, separate from insurance. It's healthcare is in the United States, it's a mess,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly.
I think in not the United States, even in India, it's a mess. See, if a patient is visiting a hospital, nobody knows. See, it can be good business if I know what kind of a disease I have, and I can have the data of all the people who have the disease. For example, diabetes. If I know in the state of
Mhm.
USA how many people have diabetes, I can do a partnership with a pharma company and start making diabetes tablets because I
Mhm.
know the number of people who have diabetes, right? So this is all intent data. And again, if I talk about the healthcare, because I'm being talked a lot of end users in healthcare industries, virtually every healthcare organization has just to build digital front doors, right? They are giving a self-service portal. You can open the apps. In India, it's very trendy right now. There are a lot
Mhm.
of apps who you can just check mark, my name is there. I have seen this doctor's appointment is there. It will
Mhm.
give me triggers. It will tell me your next appointment is 2 weeks later and your medicine is going to expire, you have to refill your medicines, it's time to take your medicine. This kind of self-service portal is getting trendy a lot. The main purpose here is the messaging. And just adding to that, like currently, like more than 90% patient have access to healthcare portals in India right now. I don't know what the US state, but mostly in India is a huge amount of percentage have healthcare access right now.
So it's self-service, basically. That's the trend. And I think you said you were noticing that other markets, Latin America, I think again was one that was really focused on that as well, specifically for healthcare, but just for communications generically. Just kind of again looking through here in terms of overall growth. And I think in your post on this a couple of weeks ago, you said that the fastest growing market is Asia Pacific. The biggest
Agreed.
market is the United States, but the
Yeah.
fastest growing is Asia Pacific. What's going on there that's causing that kind of growth?
Again, first thing is the population. I think the India and China as a creating the whole again a new earth, to be honest. Like the population is getting huge right now. And what when I talk about the Indian industry, like it is mostly service based,
Okay.
right? So we have companies like TCS, Wipro, Infosys. So these companies are a service epitome in all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the change I have seen that you create any product without service, there's no existence of that product. You have to have a support. We have to have 24 support, someone taking a call for you. Hey, my product is not working right now. My software is not running. Please help me. This guy will take a call and start answering the query. So it's not about the deployment, it's about the time after deployment. And now these companies have creating again their portal for themselves. They have the service portal and they're hiring developers, they're hiring their own platforms. So they are copy and pasting things. So that's why I'm saying, just if you take example of TCS, they have their own portal where you can create your own software. They have the integrations for different technology, software technology companies, and they can collab everybody, and they can have one product, and they will give to end user, right? So someone who's asking for services, they will say, okay, don't take service. We also have a product you can try on. Important part is costing.
Yeah.
The labor cost and even the resources cost is very less.
Mm.
So that's why the more and more functionality is coming in the picture. Even the
Mm.
government is supporting right now. There are a lot of startups are going on. China is very, I think, in hidden way, they don't disclose a lot, but
Mm.
their own labor force is very strong right now. Even in technology, they have their own agendas and all. Everything is asserted to their government, right? So these two countries right now, I think 70-80% growth is coming from these two countries, to be honest. Other
Mm.
companies are still going on. If you take other countries like the more eastern side, like Malaysia, Thailand, these countries are also growing in. But the major
Mm.
focus on India and China.
Just because there's so many people that needs to be served. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you brought up a really interesting point, which I want to come back to, which is really comparing what you're describing to what is the US market, which, depending on who you talk to, the US is as much as perhaps as a decade behind the rest of the world. It's astounding how completely myopically focused we still are on putting stuff in the mail here. And relative to what's happening in other parts of the world. One of the things that I often describe when I'm talking to particularly service providers, right? Print communication service providers, they're worried about their competition in the next city or the next town. Like, the thing that's going to come in and change the US marketplace is probably not going to come from the United States. It's going to come from somewhere else. It's going to show up here and disrupt this industry in ways that people are not even thinking about. And the reason I say that is because we've actually seen it occur in other markets and other parts of the world where they're solving the challenges that need to be solved around security and compliance and managing these different types of communications. Notions are being picked up and are going to be moved in the US market. And there's a lot of people that are going to go, whoa, where'd they come from? Well, they've been solving this problem for a decade somewhere else.
Yeah. Agree with this.
And part of what my charter is at Treeline Research is to really bring that view to the US market, because the US market is huge, right? It's huge. But it's not the most innovative. It's not the most
Agree.
progressive.
And this, I think it's our responsibility. Like you have Trina Research, you are doing great. And again, our QKS group is also doing a great research like Spark Metrics. We have real evaluation. We tell end users about which vendor should we carry on. Like we are moving one step ahead. We have on Spark Plus. Like companies like G2, Trust Radius, they have end users reviews in that. Someone who is want to buy a software. When we're talking about software purchasing is not just a purchasing a bread. It's a
right.
whole new ecosystem you have to create. There are a lot of things coming in. What kind of
Yep.
partners you have, sales strategy, compliance thing will come on the picture, what kind of resources you have. So again, what we're doing also with our Spark Plus is, like you can see from LinkedIn, that we are creating an 360 view of evaluation. The
Mhm.
analyst will give you a review. They will review from the end users also. And again, someone from the community who is in CXO level will also give an intent. So someone who want to buy, imagine someone who wants to buy a platform. I'm an analyst in CCM. I will give him insights from all the platforms and all the secondary source
Mhm.
and prime source I have. An end user who already using the platform, and someone from CXO community is also giving insights.
Mhm.
It was so easy for.
Right.
So that's what our responsibilities right now is. Like we should at least educate end users, let them know what's going on.
Mhm.
So I don't want to I don't want to be a CCM in a fragment way, like you have told me, like initially CCM getting fragmented.
Right.
Really, I don't want to be telling someone, oh, CCM is getting in marketing automation.
Right.
CCM is now just content delivery thing. CCM is just a digital content thing and all. So
No, it's its
at
own
least we should.
thing. It's its own thing for sure, because of the necessity and the regulations and the things that sort of force businesses to do things a certain way when it comes to talking to their customers. And that's where I think it's we're always going to maintain that. But I think the importance of it is definitely being elevated in the enterprise, right? Because it's seen as part of CXM, part of customer experience, part of engagement and sales. It's all of that. So it's exciting.
Agree.
And that's where the growth is, right? Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Let's talk a little bit about preference management real quick. It's my view that preference management is still broken, because as a consumer, I have to manage my preference for every relationship that I have. And I don't necessarily know where to do that or remember my login. It's still broken, I think, in many ways. Where are we with preference management? What's the latest and greatest on preference management? Because it's everybody talks about it, but you don't see a lot of innovation there.
Again, the preference management also setting up to the AI thing.
Yeah.
Like initially, what we used to believe that I know what I am, right? What are my preferences? I believe I should go for WhatsApp rather than Telegram, rather than Twitter. But if someone telling you that, hey, I can see your phone stats and I can see that you're using WhatsApp more than Telegram. I don't like using WhatsApp, but I just opening it and someone telling me that use Twitter. So preferences being changed based on the notion created by my users history, my intent data, and how companies are compelling me, right? If some company who have better resources in particular channels, they
Mm-hmm.
will definitely come for me and tell me that use this channel. You have to use this channel. This channel is giving you some different type of necessity, different type of information. Or again, I don't know what I'm doing right now because someone is telling me, because they're saying a platform is saying that,
Right.
data is
Yep.
saying that. So
Right.
we're
Right.
you're carried away with that terms, that the jargons, I will say, the jargons we are using in that. So that the preference management about this customer right now is just about the efficiency and operationability.
Hmm.
This is how things getting in preference management.
Well, that's a great insight. I just have a couple other questions I wanted to ask you just to kind of flush things out. And again, it's a little bit of comparing what you see globally with the United States. And one of the mysteries that I'm thinking about is, when you think about an industry like healthcare, maybe is different. Again, we've already agreed. But you think about banking or financial services, the customers that have a bank account that are engaged utilizing a financial services firm, more than likely they have one of these. More than likely they
Mhm.
have access to the internet. And the usage of these and access to the internet globally for those types of customers is probably pretty much ubiquitous, right?
Yeah,
Any market.
agree.
Pick. So the question is
Yeah.
why is digital adoption so different around the world, even though access to digital and mobile devices is pretty much uniform? Now, I'm not saying every corner of India they have it, but for people that are engaged in financial services and banking and insurance, they're consumers that have money that are probably have a mobile device, right? Why is it so different? What is the thing that makes it different around the world? Why are postal systems struggling? It's just
Mhm.
something to me that's really fascinating. I just was curious what your thoughts were on that.
And yeah, I agree. So again, the United States, I feel it's infrastructurally they are very strong right now. So getting a digital adoption is on perfect path. So that every platform, every company, any of software companies, mostly from United States. So they have that infrastructure. When you talk about globally, if you leave Europe, part of India and China, all most part are suffering for it. Even internet, they're not having for digital adoption. You need to have internet. In
Right.
countries like Africa, they are not getting the internet thing right. Even in India, when we talked last time, we're talking about the postal strategy in India and how it's working. The postal strategy is working a lot
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have access to internet. And
Right.
they are the laborers who are earning less than $2-3 a day. They have to use that thing. And even about the education part, if you're giving in the phone to someone who don't know how to use it, it's just a stone, it's a paper stone for him. So you have to use that again, the traditional method of postal services and all. The thing is that we are living in a Gen Z mode, right? We are copying everything in Western culture and all. Everything is doing that. Someone's setting up a trend and everybody follows. Right. So I think again, if I'm getting all the information in my phone, is very easy for me. Concern is my private data, but I won't mind. I won't mind. I am sleeping in the 9 in the morning and I'm getting all the notification in my bank account. Okay, salary is credited. It's fine. If I'm not using my phone, I have to wait for some days to get my salary slip from my postal services and all. So that's why people don't want. They are in such a hurry. They want everything in one piece and one place and very quickly. So that's why thing is. But again, I will say that digital adoption in USA is far much better compared to all the global countries. Again, China is one comparing to them. But in India, I think 70% is digital adopted. We have a UPI thing, like
Mm-hmm.
you can scan and pay. So I think UPI users are most in the whole world. But again, some part of country is still struggling in this adoption.
Right. There's always going to be that group. I mean, even here in the United States, we have that group, right? Very rural, very remote, all the
Yeah.
big country. So, not to get too personal, but which generation are you a member of, Saurabh?
I born in 1996, so I can be millennial,
You're a
I
millennial,
feel.
so you're a young millennial. All right. That's really exciting. I mean, it's exciting to have a young person, millennials are young to me, engaged in this industry. And I'm confident that your voice and your face are going to be a part of this industry for a long time. And I'm excited to watch you. Yeah,
Said like that. Yeah.
it's going to be fun. And I love the way you think. And clearly, you've got a team there at QKS that's really supporting you and what you're trying to do. Is there anything that,
Yeah.
before we go, are there any key points or items that you would like to bring forth before we wrap up? Are there certain things you want to sort of emphasize or other topics that you want to cover?
Learning from you guys is very important, to be honest. But what I believe is that we, even as an analyst, after 4 or 5 years, I will make sure that essence of CCM won't go. The essence is built on compliance, built on trust, integrity, and all. That shouldn't go, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be lost in the marketing jungle. Like everything is looking glorious, beautiful, and all. There should be a whole ground, right? That's my responsibility and all the analysts who are operating in any market, sales tech market, and other edge market and all. They should have that thing in their mind that the asset shouldn't go. Like somebody, some customer who is having a salary account delivered to them, their healthcare bills are coming to them, but the data should be kept for just for some use, right? It shouldn't be floated all around the world. And that's what my feeling is, that data leakage is a number one priority right now. I just request all the CCM vendors to focus on that right now. I know that AI is booming right now. You are getting a lot of deals with AI thing. Even end users are just like getting towards it, getting what do you say, hypnotized towards AI and all. And again, it's very obnoxious to say that your data is not safe if companies are not obliged to. And it's a role of an end user to tell them, to ask them where my data is. So that my
Mhm.
essence is like,
We have to save our data and we need to make sure the data is accurate, which is sort of the other side of the coin from that, right?
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
the other big challenge. So what's next for QKS? What's next for your practice? What can we expect to see from you in the future?
So this dashboard is a pilot project. We are launching our own market intelligence tool for all the markets. So you will find these kind of dashboard for all the markets, pocket digest tools. We won't giving you reports. We are giving you this kind of dashboard. Use it. You can just show some of your presentations. You can have some decisions if possible and all. So
Mhm.
Marine, we are planning to launch maybe next year. Spark Plus has already been launched, and I believe the Spark Plus will be revolutionary in software buying. They will tell you how to buy the thing, and again, we will integrate with AI. You have to integrate with AI. Everybody's loving AI, so they have to integrate with AI. We will tell you how to make RFP and all. So this is how the things going on, and I think there are a lot of stuff coming from QKS Group. You will see all the updates from my LinkedIn, from company's LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
again, this is what we are
Yeah.
planning right now.
Well, that's great. And I hope that we can talk again about what
Yeah.
comes next for you and QKS on the dashboard.